Broken Flowers is a film directed by Jim Jarmusch that captures the journey of a man in an attempt to uncover the truth. What intrigued me about Broken Flowers was its acts, familiar images, breaking of patterns, and its shots. These film techniques were interesting to see in this film because it emphasized the story. To begin with, Broken Flowers is about a man named Don John that receives a letter from one of his former girlfriends. This pink letter informs him that he had a son 19 years ago, of which he has no idea who the mother could possibly be. His friend Winston somehow manages to get him to go on a journey all across the United States in an attempt to uncover this mystery. This film has roughly 3 general acts. The first act sets up the story by establishing the normal world. In this act, we see that Don John is incredibly rich and lonely, and that he has a blank expression. Based on the first act's tone, the audience gets an expectation of the story, such that his character is rather blank. Once the normal world is established, the following act is a catalyst. The second act develops the story through an inciting incident. The catalyst is a pink letter that he receives in the mail. The second act is the longest act of all, which is his journey to meet his former girlfriend. The third act is when the problem is resolved. However, in this case, the third act does not exactly resolve the problem of who wrote the letter, but rather it addresses the possibilities and Don John's thinking. Within these acts, there are familiar images. First and foremost, Broken Flowers does a great job of establishing the repeated familiar images throughout this film, which affects the interaction of not only the characters but also the audience to the film. Note that familiar images includes visual and audio. According to film theorist Stefan Scharf, familiar images are used by the director to stabilize the narrative. Familiar images in Broken Flowers stabilize the narrative by reminding the characters and the audience of what he is searching. In Broken Flowers, there are several familiar images: the color pink, pink flowers, the question, "Do you have a typewriter?" and of course, the pink letter. Whenever Don John visits each of his former girlfriends, he is always on the lookout of anything of this matter. Similarly, the audience is actively listening and looking to see if there are any hints towards who could have written the letter. Throughout this film, we are actively paying attention to many details, including Don John's state of mind. We are able to witness his state of mind through the breaking of pattern and the camera angle. At some point in this film, Don John believes that a traveling teenager is his son. In return, this boy runs away scared. Don John chases after him for several scenes, during which he seemed genuinely worried that his son was scared because of his attempt of a father approach. This pattern is then interrupted by the shot of a moving vehicle. Inside this vehicle is another teenage boy who looks at him. This teenage boy has the same potential to be his son. Once the moving shot takes place, Don John seemed unsure if he had chased his actual son. This breaking of pattern of the shot is important to the story because it conveys the change of the character's state of mind. In the next shot, Don John's state of mind changes again, which we are able to see through the 360-degree slow shot around him. This shot focuses on Don John's body language and facial expressions. On such an account, Don John returns to his blank expression as it had been before he began his journey. Broken Flowers is a film that follows the expedition of Don John to discover the truth behind the pink letter. Since the film focused on his journey rather than the answer to who wrote the pink letter, it's an ambiguous narrative. This film techniques promote this through its acts, familiar images, breaking of patterns, and its shots. Therefore, the audience is able to interpret it however they want. And so, who do you think wrote this pink letter?